What's up guys, in today's video everyone we are going to be overviewing the Christmas Carol team guide for our Ragna Break Season 31 event. So with that being said, let's get started. Now first up here we do have the boss skills for Chang'e, our water type supporter. Now here we do have her tap skill, dealing damage to 2 enemies, highest HP, inflict poison, cause 400 damage every time the target takes action, and bonus damage every time the target receives damage on them for 16 seconds, and venom, dealing 500 damage over time, and recovery amounts regen, heal minus 50%, unable to cut or extend debuff to 3 enemies with time-based debuffs for 20 seconds long. Moving on to the slide skill here, we have dealing damage to 3 enemies, highest HP, inflict allure, nullify effects of buffs on target, cannot remove for 16 seconds, and grant skill gauge charge amount minus 40% to 3 enemies, highest attack for 24 seconds, and skill gauge charge amount 12 stacks to self. As for the draft skill here, dealing damage to all enemies, inflict debuff blast, 1 debuff is removed and damage is done in relation to the type of debuff times 1000, and a 100% chance to inflict stun for 1 second more when attacked, up to 5 seconds max, to 3 enemies, highest attack for 12 seconds. As for the leader buff here everyone, debuff evasion plus 40% and debuff duration cut minus 60%, and all skill defense plus 100% except for weak point attributes for all allies, and nullify frenzy for all enemies. So definitely a very interesting boss skill set here for Chang'e. She does have a ton of debuffs here in these skill sets, with the venom poison here on the tap skill, as well as the very annoying allure here on her slide, and last but not least that's debuff blast here and stun on the draft skill. So a very annoying boss skill set, but we can definitely counter this. So let's get started with the recommendations. Now for the first row here everyone, we have the aid category, in which it's recommended to run one of these characters. Now first up we do have the new wood type supporter in Scrooge, definitely a very amazing option for helping out with aid, as well as a ton of other buffs in her skill set. So make sure to run this character and give her a shot. Now if your Scrooge does seem to be underperforming due to the lack of ignition, make sure to try out newbie Mona in her place, as she'll be a great option as well. Now for Scrooge here, you'll want to run this unit on slide tap, and if you do happen to have her ignited, make sure to run her on slide and 2 taps. After Scrooge here we do have Aura, which is a great option as well, and as we mentioned already, we have newbie Mona, in which you should try over Scrooge if you do happen to see her underperforming. Next here we have the crit buffer category, in which it's recommended to run Yuna here, as Yuna without a doubt is the best option for the crit buffer. Even if you do happen to have your Yuna unignited and you have your Lupin ignited, make sure to run Yuna in her place regardless, as she will be the better option of the 2 here for the Wood Ragna Break team. Now for Yuna here, you can also consider using her leader skill, and I almost forgot to mention you can also consider trying out Scrooge leader skill for the event as well. Now for the weak point category here everyone, we have Scrooge, so you'll make sure to run her onto your team. Now if you don't happen to have Scrooge, or happen to be a newer player and do lack crystals to summon, make sure to toss in Bikini Lisa onto your team if you would like to give her a shot, as she does help with weak point damage also. Now honestly, Bikini Lisa is pretty outdated, so you'll have to use her only if you lack a ton of options here from the guide. Next here we have double-edged sword / attack plus, in which it's recommended to run one of these units here in Elysian, as she is a top tier unit for the Wood Ragna Break team and happens to be a staple for it. So make sure to run Elysian here on the team and consider using her leader skill as well. And if you don't happen to have her, you can also give Rosanna a shot here, in which she does have double-edged sword. Next up here everyone, we have the category of speed, gauge charge, and cooldown reduction, in which we do have Scrooge here to start, and following Scrooge we do have Maid Citri, in which you should definitely run onto your team, as she is very strong due to her leader buff, as well as her skill set is very helpful. So make sure to give Maid Citri a shot and run her on slide tap tap, and if you do happen to ignite your Maid Citri, make sure to run her on slide and 3 taps, as that would be the better option due to her ignition scaling. After Maid Citri here we do have Grilla, which is a very nice supporter alongside Polar Pepita if you do happen to lack supporter units. And moving on, we do have more of the options for beginner players, as well as players that are lacking wood type supporters overall, in which we do have Neptune here, which is very nice due to the double-edged sword in her skill set, as well as the healing will help with the survivability, and of course her drive skill with the lifelink is also amazing for Ragna Burst, burst, so make sure to give her a shot there. Next here we have Thisbe, which is another water type supporter that is very helpful. You should run Thisbe on slide tap tap, and Thisbe here can help with the charge amount plus, gauge charge, and of course that slide cooldown minus. Next here everyone, we have Chang'e, our water type supporter that does happen to be the boss for this event. Now she was actually changed to have full charge on her tap skill, so make sure to give her a shot if you are lacking supports overall, as she is definitely better than she was before. Next here we have the survivability and healer category, in which it's recommended to run one of these units if your team is dying a ton. And first up we do have Pomona here, which could help with nullifying debuffs and healing in a small amount. Now the nullifying debuffs will help with the poison as well as the venom, so make sure to give Pomona a shot if you are dying a ton from that. Now if you are lacking sustainability overall and would just like more raw healing, you can consider running units like Freya, the wood type healer, Full Elf, or even Mods here, as we do have her featured. Now if you are lacking 5-star units in general, if you do happen to be a beginner player, consider running the 4-star supporter in Letta, as she does heal all allies. Next up here everyone, we have the attacker category, in which is recommended to run one of these units. Now first up we do have Polar Pepita, followed by Ayane, Daphnis, Abaddon, Siren, Annie, and Mech Commander. Now Mech Commander here is only good when fully ignited, and since he does happen to be a 3-star, he will only require 1 core for ignition. So if you are looking for a budget attacker for the meantime and an attacker for the endless duel side of Destiny Child, you can definitely consider igniting this character, as he is a solid option after ignition. As for the notes here everyone, we do have the attacker prioritization, which would be the 6 hit percentage based overall, and the lowest priority would be the 3 hit slide. Next here we have Mech Commander is only good when fully ignited, followed by Siren and Annie are the best attackers without ignition. And for the final notes here, we do have one discussing our wood type supporter Scrooge, in which you should consider using newbie Mona over her if you do notice her underperforming due to no ignition. Now Scrooge ignition does help a ton, but she won't be required to one-shot for endgame players. Now if you do happen to ignite her, she will definitely be a strong option for Ragna Burst, as you'll definitely need her in that portion of the event. As for the soul Carta recommendations everyone, for your attackers we have Best Dresser, which would definitely be the best Carta for this event. We do have the option here, which does provide critical skill damage percentage plus, as well as restoring HP, which is very strong for your attacker. Next here we have End of a Long Wait, which would be the second best option, followed by In Sister's Arms, which would be the last. There's also a soul Carta called the Dive if you would like to use that one as well, and do lack the ones shown on this guide. Next here we have supporter and tank Cartas, in which we do have Change of Air, which would be the supporter's choice. Next here we have Rest in Peace and Showtime, which would help with debuff evasion, and you would want to prioritize Rest in Peace for your wood type allies. As for the final Carta here, that's what help your Lupin, we do have Towards the Glittering Waves if you do happen to run that character. As for the sample lineup here everyone, starting with the top left, we do have Polar Pepita, Scrooge, Elysian, Maid Citri, and Yuna, in which you would run Maid Citri leader skill here. And for the drive order, we have Elysian into Scrooge and ending off with Yuna drive. Now you can also consider running the drive order of Elysian into Scrooge and no third drive order, but in my personal opinion, I would definitely run the Yuna drive skill, so make sure to test out your drive orders on this team specifically. As for the next team option here everyone, we have Polar Pepita, Grilla, Newbie Mona, Maid Citri, and Yuna, in which you would run the drive order of Maid Citri into Grilla drive and end off with Yuna drive. As for the leader skill here, you will run Maid Citri leader skill once again. As for the third team composition everyone, towards the bottom left, we do have Annie, Scrooge, Maid Citri, Grilla, and Yuna. And for the drive order here, you will run Scrooge into Grilla drive and end off with Yuna drive, and make sure to use the Maid Citri leader skill. As for the final team everyone, towards the bottom right, we do have Polar Pepita, Neptune, Maid Citri, Lupin, and Newbie Mona. Now you should consider running this team here if you are a low budget player and do happen to lack units, as well as being a beginner player overall. As for the drive skill order here, we have Citri into Mona and ending off with Lupin. Now for the leader skill, we have Maid Citri, as expected due to the other team compositions. Now if you do happen to lack Maid Citri, you can consider running the leader skill of Elysian as well as Yuna, and also consider testing out Pepita leader skill, and of course newbie Mona would be the last priority. So make sure to test out those leader skill options if you are lacking the units shown on this team. As for the final tips here everyone, we have make sure to test out other team compositions other than the 4 examples above. Next here we have the top ranking teams will have meta compositions to follow, especially for speed ranking, and please make sure to read the skill sets of your units so you can fully understand how your team works. And last but not least, testing out other leader skills may improve your overall damage, such as Scrooge, Yuna, Pepita, and Maid Citri. So that'll pretty much do it for the Ragna Break team guide here for our Christmas Carol event everyone. Make sure to let me know in the comment section below if you did find this video helpful, and let me know how you guys are doing so far throughout the event. Now before you go, make sure to also leave a like on this video if you did find this guide helpful, and of course make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so already and are interested in more Destiny Child videos and guides like this one. Also consider checking out channel memberships down below if you're interested in further supporting the channel for a small cost, and a huge thank you to all of the members that have joined so far. But with all of that being said, I'll catch you all in the next Destiny Child video. As always, thank you all so much for watching.